Greetings all, Fu here with part 6 of the How to Build Your Republic Commando thread. Went ahead and finished up the forearm we were working on earlier. It's the same process we'd used, just putting glue on the inside edge there, make sure it bubbled up, getting the clamps on there. We're going to go ahead and move on to the biceps. Now what I did for the biceps, since they're way too big for my arms, and they're meant to be big, but I went ahead and cut them down so that left to right, or the width-wise, wouldn't have an issue. I just got done cutting. Break off all your little burrs. Now what you'll find is really helpful is the piece you cut off, make sure you just cut off on one side, leave a little bit on the edge here because it's going to need to have some place to sit. But that piece you cut off makes a perfect shim. You just need to take a little off top, a little off the bottom. It's a perfect shim, meets all your angle all the way through. Since the bicep doesn't have a lot of tension on this front edge, it's probably the safest piece. You're going to be able to do the front and the back at the same time without having to do the clamshell approach we've done so far. So I'm going to go ahead and start mixing up some DevCon. You should probably be coming to the end of your first tube by now. I've switched out just because I'm working on some other projects, but this will probably kill your first tube and get you into your second one. If you're careful, you can get one tube for your bicep and your forearm. We'll get into more as we go on. So I'm going to go ahead and reposition the camera here, and we're going to go through getting the bicep together. Alright, make sure again all your burrs are off. Burrs in plastic, not as in the Mandalorian parent. Alright. I'm going to use the other side here. Again, make sure you're using a very well ventilated place with this DevCon. I'll squeeze a little more on there just because I'm doing 4 sides at once here, so shouldn't be wasting too much. Actually, we may need to add a little bit more. Alright, good even consistency. Take the inside of the bicep, half that you cut off of, because that's going to be your limiting edge. Go ahead and get that. Again, a little thicker here just because we're doing a double clamping, so we want to give it some squeeze room. Fill in any gaps that the clamps might not be able to push down plastic to plastic. Take a shim, drop it right in there, should get a decent match. Good deal. We'll do the same to the back half. You're going to need tape for this part of the assembly because we're not waiting for it to harden before we do the other half. So you'll need a little bit of tape. I'm still using the same packing tape, just to hold things together while you get clamps in place and to make sure you don't get any left or right spread. There we go. Perfect. Alright, I'm going to put glue on my shim side because I want it to bubble up through the seam like we've talked about. Make for a lot less Bondo work later on. And yep, we're going to need more glue. Go ahead and mix up a little more of that real quick. You'll find you get pretty quick at this on the fly once you get used to it. What's really helpful if you're a person that loses track of time, have the radio on where you're doing this. Most pop songs are 3 to 4 minutes long now, so just keep a song in mind as you're going through this. If the song's over, your glue's probably getting past its point where you can move it around. Unless, of course, you're listening to Anagata Davida or something that's 19 minutes long. And then your host, because it's way dry by that point. I would also not recommend Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Alright, front and back. Now if your shim's not showing enough, you can still scoot it around at this point. Nothing's hardened yet. Okay, we're going to go ahead and line up our front, place it in the glue, and grab our tape. Probably should have grabbed the tape first. My 5th or 6th set of armor I built. Still little things you forget about. Alright, set the tape. Set the plate. Tape over. Clamp in deep. Actually, I'm going to clamp in from this side first. Clamp in deep at an angle. It's going to flare out on the other side. We'll fix that in a second. Get your back half. Drop in a medium on the lower half of the bicep. And just squeeze it all together. Get that glue popping up through the seam. Make sure it's meeting. Flip her over. Make sure your shim hasn't scooted over on you. Same thing, get your tape ready. Get it in behind. When they meet up, drop it down. You will get this glue on your hands. It's not going to kill you. It stays on for about 8 hours. You can rub it off. Alcohol helps. The rubbing kind, not the drinking kind. Alright, make sure everything is squeezed together. You want to make sure that your curve matches up. Otherwise you've got a lot of sanding work to do later on. Again, make sure your curve matches up. If you've got a little gap that you can see there, you can always push some glue up into it. And we're going to go ahead and let that sit. That's the end of part 6. That's the end of part 6. Your biceps. We finished up the forearms already. You've gone through about a tube and a half of DevCon at this point. In video 7, we'll take a look at building the thighs. Have a Fumart day.